about why it is that Kamala Harris's campaign and Tim Walz's campaign is exploding, why it's doing so well, why everywhere they go, they're getting massive crowds and enthusiastic response. The Financial Times said now more Americans trust Kamala Harris on the economy than Donald Trump. Those are numbers that we haven't seen in a long time. And it all has to do with pleasure versus pain. Longtime listeners to this program know what I'm talking about. I wrote a book about this back in 2008 called Cracking the Code, and it's about political communication. And in fact, I should have put that in the article. And there's basically two ways. I mean, this goes all the way back to when bacteria ruled the earth, right? Bacteria move toward food and move away from poison. Every form of life. Plants do this. Right? If there's an area that the surface is too hot, a plant will literally physically move away from it. Plants move. We've got a bunch of wildflowers, along the trail that Louise and I walk on every day, and they follow the sun. They're in pursuit of pleasure. So there's two principal motivation strategies that people use, and we're constantly doing one or the other of these two things. We're either moving toward pleasure, or we're moving away from pain. And there's pretty much nothing else. I mean, this is what it is. So Trump, now the moving toward pleasure strategy in politics, if you can do it in a way that is credible, is arguably the most powerful, even though it doesn't have the fastest response. And I'll get to that in just a second. But this was the primary strategy that Jack Kennedy used in 1960. A new generation of Americans. It's the primary strategy that 20 years later Ronald Reagan used in 1980 with his slogan, "Make America Great Again." And then again 4 years later in 1984, Morning in America. It was spelled M-O-R-N, not M-O-U-R-N, although I think that would have been more appropriate given that it was Reagan's second term. But anyway, it worked. And that was what Trump was pitching in 2016, Make America Great Again. Like I said, he stole it from Reagan's 1980 campaign. But this is like, we're going to do something to make your life better. We're going to make you happy, moving toward pleasure. Now, moving away from pain is actually the fastest way you get a response from somebody. It's like touching a hot stove. You pull your hand back right away, or getting electric shock. And if you wanted to compare these two motivational strategies to the basic forces of nature, the four principle, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, the electromagnetism and gravity. You've got you could say that the correlation between, or the association or comparison, whatever the word metaphor for moving away from pain strategy would be the electromagnetic force. It's like lightning. When there's an electrical storm, you don't walk out in the field holding an umbrella. You take cover. Nobody wants to be hit by lightning. You touch an electrical socket and get a shock, you jump away from it. That's what moving away from pain is. And it does produce a quick response. I mean, people don't jump to get a good meal in a restaurant. That's moving toward pleasure. Right? They don't jump to watch a nice TV show or something, like you do when you're shocked. But the problem with moving away from pain strategies is that they eventually exhaust people. They work really well in the beginning. Look out, this is Dick Cheney in 2004. If you vote for Democrats, they're going to attack us again. The terrorists will attack us again, Dick Cheney said. Words to that effect. And, that's the moving away from pain strategy. Well, eventually, it's like whipping a horse, to make it go faster. I mean, the first couple times you whip a horse as you're riding it, it does go faster. But then eventually it just gets exhausted. And no matter how hard you whip it, it'll just, stop responding. It'll pause, it'll whimper, or it'll fall over dead, which is where the phrase whipping a dead horse comes from. And that's what's going on right now with the Trump campaign. Trump can't sell Morning in America because we all saw what his presidency was like for 4 years, and it led to the greatest economic crash in the history of the United States. More people lost more money even than in the Great Depression. Percentage-wise, it was on, about on par with the Great Depression. He had, a 500,000 Americans died unnecessarily because he bungled the pandemic. He tore Americans apart. He tore children from their mothers and trafficked them into God only knows what. We still have 1,000 children who are missing that Trump sold off to who knows who. These so-called Christian adoption services that set up shop around 2016 and then went out of business after they had 1,000 kids. What the hell is going on with it? So we know what's going on with Trump, and he can't sell us on, I'll make things better. So instead, he's trying to sell us on, they're going to make things terrible. Look out. You're going to have abortion even after the baby is born. That's what these people want. This is, what Trump is saying. He's trying to scare us about the horrors of evil women making decisions about their own bodies. Oh my God. He's trying to scare us that, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are socialists. They want to bring socialism to America. Yeah, right. It's just not working. He's flogging a dying horse is what's going on here. So the good news is that the Harris-Walz campaign has said, we're going to be the optimistic ones. We're going to be the Morning in America ones. We're going to be the ones who are bringing joy and happiness and a positive vision. This week, by the way, the Harris campaign is going to release their economic plan for America. I'm really looking forward to this. So they're going to just lay it all out. So the bottom line here, now that you know this, and you know that good political communication, by the way, includes both. Like Harrison Walz saying, we're going to expand Social Security, we're going to strengthen Medicare, we're going to add job protections, we're going to raise the minimum wage, but that's all moving toward pleasure. But those Republicans, they want to take all that stuff away from you. That's moving away from pain. So when you're going door to door, when you're talking to your neighbors, when you're canvassing, when you're making phone calls, always start with the positives. Start with the moving toward pleasure. This is what Harrison Walz, this is what Democrats are going to give you. This is how they're going to make America a better place. And then go to the moving away from pain. And by the way, this is what Republicans want to do. They want to put women in jail. They want to tear mothers from their children. Et cetera. They want more tax breaks for billionaires and raise taxes on average working people. The Project 2025 would raise the taxes of the average family, the average middle class family, by about $2,000 a year, while giving billionaires over $1 million a year in tax cuts. So that's how you do it. And that's what they're doing. And I think it's going to work. And it's not going to fade out or fizzle out in the next 80 some odd days.